Today I have 4 Etsy inspired dupes for you, kicking off the Duping Through the Holidays playlist series. For this first dupe, we're going to need to take a little trip in the Dollar Tree. While we're here, we're going to grab some of their plungers. I know, plungers, Brandi, what the hell? We need the wooden handle pieces on these joints, okay? We need them. I promise it will all make sense and it will be worth it. Just stick around, hang out, okay? We're going to cut these down into 3 different sizes. You could use 2 plungers and pull this off. And if you don't have, or you're worried about using a miter saw, use a little miter box. I didn't really measure these out. I just kind of eyeballed it. And the 2 longer ones are just slightly bigger than the other. And then the smallest one is identifiably smaller than the other 2. And then I took some wire cutters and made some gouge marks in our rods. Now I stayed mostly to the edge, because we're not really going to see the center. We're going to wrap it in some ribbons. So don't waste your time putting a whole bunch of gouges in the center of your little rods. If you want to put a couple extra in there, just like I did, just to make it look more authentic, you go right ahead. That's really all I did. Just threw a few in there, like you can see right here. So once you have them looking like this, we're then going to take some antique Waverly wax. We're not going to have to put this all over our little dowel pieces. You just really want to get it inside of those little gouge marks. This is going to give us an authentic look once we put our white paint over this. Now you can, if you want to cover the whole thing, you go right ahead. This is what mine looked like when I was completely finished. I let these dry because antique Waverly wax is a little wonky if you don't and you try to paint over it. My paintbrush was not completely saturated in the paint. It was more on the dry end, but enough that I was getting coverage as I was going. I wanted to make sure that I didn't put too much on here that it would seep in our gouge marks, because then, you know, that just kind of defeats the purpose of the gouge marks. I do just want to let you know that if you do not want to use plungers and you want to go with a little bit of a thicker style, they do sell thicker rods at Hobby Lobby and Home Depot. But seriously, people, how amazing and authentic do these look? But we're not done yet. We are going to now take a little fan brush, okay? We're going to take a little bit of gray paint. And honestly, the gray is at your discretion. I just used whatever apple barrel gray paint I had sitting close to me, dabbed in my brush, and spun this little rod gently. And I did this down the whole rod, you know, well, till we got to the middle, because we weren't wasting time doing the middle. No one's going to see the middle. And then I dry brushed back and forth like this over the entire piece. And I did this for all 3 of these. And this is at your discretion. So when you're happy with the dry brushing, just stop. This is where I stopped. I let this dry. It took about 10 minutes. Now we're going to attach our ribbon. I picked some up from Dollar Tree. This was the only red that I could find there. It wasn't as dull as the dupe, but I don't really do exact dupes anyway. I do more of inspired dupes and put my own spin on it. So this is going to do the job just fine. I decided to glue everything together. I'm probably going to resell these little pieces at my little vendor space. And I'm just taking some wood glue here, attaching the pieces together. And I'm going to use a piece of twine to hold them in place. You're not going to see the twine. It's going to be underneath of the red ribbon. You can skip this part if you want. This way you can also switch things out as you go if you get tired of the red, or if you want to add more little dowel pieces. Completely up to you. I do want to share real quick though that make sure you're paying attention to the dowels as you're placing them if you're going to glue them together, because not all sides of the dowel are created equally, okay? Some sides look just a little bit better. And I was spinning them around. So if you see me moving around, that's because I wanted to make sure that the better looking side was facing outward as the decor spot. I did do a fancy little, you know, cut on the end of the ribbon and then just did one tie. I then decided I was going to take some tacky glue and adhere the pieces down. This is just a little envelope I had laying around, and I am cutting it to the shape of a tag so we can write our Merry Christmas on here. And I just tried to write as cursive and old school as I possibly could for our tag. This is probably one of my favorite Christmas pieces I have made so far this season. It is simple and elegant looking. I just love how it turned out, and I can't believe it came from plungers. When I seen this little guy on Etsy, people, I was like, I have to build him. And to do that, I'm taking this 2x3 I had laying around in my patio. You can pick these up from Home Depot. This piece is really raw and rustic, not sanded, anything. I just cut 3 different sizes, the head of course being the smallest size. And then once I had them all laid out, I thought, just in case you guys want exact measurements, let me go ahead and show you what I have here, because I just wung this, okay? I just wung it and eyeballed it and was like, this is good. We're just gonna cut it on down. Then I'm using Titebond wood glue and some hot glue to attach these. The hot glue is going to get these suckers stuck together immediately, and that wood glue is going to give you that long hold. I'm also, just for a little extra insurance, gonna bring in the stapler, and we're going to put some staples in the back of this piece just to make sure that it is held together really well. The amount of staples is of course completely up to you. I also recommend using a dowel. You can drill a hole in the center of these pieces and then place some wood glue in there. It will give you a little bit better of a hold. Always clamp your pieces down and let this dry 3 to 4 hours. I was on a time crunch here to get this finished, so I only let it dry for 30 minutes. And then I was very gentle the rest of the time I was holding it so the sucker didn't come apart. I found this white paint laying around, so I figured we'll just use this. I saved you the painting. You're welcome. We are going to take a fan brush though and give it a little dry brushing just all the way across, not stopping in the middle. We don't want to have like any abrupt pieces in our wood area, just kind of on the edges with the paint. And then I'm going to just fray this ribbon up for the scarf. To do that, I'm just cutting the edges of the ribbon off, and then I'm going to just pull out some of those pieces to give it that frayed look. If you are interested in more of a detailed tutorial about this little guy, I did create one of those. I will put a card up here for you. I will also link that video down in the description box. I don't always have the time on Fridays to really go into grave detail on certain projects, so I started a little tutorial series where I do tutorials on Tuesdays a couple times a month, and I felt this guy needed a little bit more attention. So I do have a little tutorial on him. For the eyes, I used a permanent black marker and a little orange colored pencil for the nose, added some of these bells for the buttons, and he is so flippin' precious. I absolutely love this little guy. People, nothing about this project went as expected. It was a nightmare. I don't even know where to begin. It just didn't go as I had hoped. I guess we'll start our story at the beginning. I picked these beautiful bowls up at Ross on one of my browsing trips. These were only $5.99, and I didn't know initially what I wanted to do with them. I might have decoupaged them or something, but I've held on to them for quite some time. So when I seen this dupe, I was like, this is it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to turn these into beautiful candles. We're going to use my natural wicks. We're going to use my natural beeswax. I try to use all natural products. You're welcome to use Dollar Tree pieces if you want. I try not to use those things. And some good essential oils, because all essential oils are not created equally. You want to make sure that what you're using actually is 100% pure grade and not full of synthetic fragrances. And yes, it does matter. You are breathing these things in, but you guys do you. I'm just telling you how I roll and a healthy way to, fragrant your DIY candles up. Now, this was my first mistake. I used this tiny little glass container. I filled it all the way to the top. I went and I got it cooking, okay? Then while it's cooking, I'm taking our little wick, I'm gluing it down in the center, you know, doing all the things. Then I come back with the hot wax and start pouring it in. And I realized this is not enough. So I got the bright idea to throw a couple extra pieces in here because I watched YouTube, and YouTube told me that using a heat gun would warm the wax up. Well, all that did was throw the wax everywhere. And then it's so hot, it's sticking to my fingernail. And then I'm paying too much attention to cleaning up the table because I had blown this wax everywhere that I melted the bowl. And then the wax looked like a hot flipping mess. It wasn't even, so I let it dry and come back at it with the heat gun again to try and salvage this hot mess. Don't believe everything you watch on YouTube, people. You heard it from me first. Oh gosh, I really did try to salvage this, and I did the best I could. Okay. Oh God, it's so sad. I'm sorry. Oh yes. Yeah, I came back in with the heat. It just, I don't know. It doesn't evenly adjust it. I don't know if I'm blowing it the wrong way. Okay, I'm calm now. I did not think I was going to have that reaction rewatching the editing, doing this voiceover, but oh my gosh, it was just as funny doing this editing as it was going through it. I decided that at this point, we're just going to wrap this one up with our ribbon, throw the little greenery pieces and our pine cone on here to make the best of this dupe, and that is it for this piece. Welcome to Duping Through the Holidays playlist series. This is an event I host on my channel every November. Here is the lineup for this month. All the creators pitch in every year to give back to the community, and we are doing $60 Amazon electronic gift cards. There are 4 of these to be won. One will be given away for each week. Each week, the creators will be picking out giveaway questions, and you must answer those questions in their comments. For example, if you want a chance to win the $60 gift card this week, make sure that everyone participating in the Etsy week, you respond to their giveaway question in their comments. When we choose our winner, they will all be randomized, and I will reach out to you on December 1st in the comments if you won, and you will need to contact me for further instructions on how to get your gift card. And if you have any further questions about duping through the holidays or the giveaways, please check my community tab out. I will have a post there and be answering any questions or concerns. My comments are going to be saturated in these videos, and they will probably get missed if you put it in these comments other than your responses for the giveaway questions. So if all this sounds like fun to you, make sure you're sticking around this month so you don't miss your favorite creators and their dupes. And here is my giveaway question. I feel like I saved the best for last in this video. Little birds have told me people like to watch me paint, so we're gonna need some long signs to dupe these pieces. And I grabbed these scarecrow ones from Dollar Tree. I took the happy fall pieces right off the front of their faces. These were so big, we're gonna film in the patio so I can get them all in the frame. We're gonna start by giving them a base coat of this charcoal, and for my spray paint lovers, I got your back. Once that dried, I went over it with a white and a gray paint. I just mixed them together for the background. This is what we are going to use as our base color. And for all of you judging me right now because I got my purple smock on, my Christmas themed sleeves, no socks. Mind your business, okay? In my creative zone. I was trying to get everything in the frame, and there was just no easy way around it, okay? Anyhow, all I'm doing here is creating the faux wood slat look, and I'm just using a pencil and one of the other scarecrow boards to accomplish that. The dupe had 4 slats. I'm just using 3 with the thicker in the center and 2 small ends on the sides like this. And I did this for all 3 boards. And how I did that is I put one board on top the other slightly down so I could see where I marked them originally, and then use the other board to draw a straight line on the top. And these don't have to be perfect anyway. They're not the main showcase, and real wood isn't perfectly straight anyhow. Well, most of the time it's not. And the dupe itself, it's really vinyl. What the Etsy store was selling was the vinyl pieces at the very top. I just happened to like the decor that was in there. I'm like, we're duping this. Y'all know I ain't turning that Cricut machine on. Here is our color palette. We're going to use all these colors, nothing else, just differently for each tree. Each tree is slightly different than the other, which is another reason I love this so much. I'm using 3 different paintbrushes as well to accomplish these. We're going to start out by creating the stems, and I'm mixing some black and brown for this. Since the trees are big, we're going to need a thicker paintbrush. We are not trying to be here all day. And if I'm being 100% legit with y'all, it took me about 40 minutes to paint the 3 of these trees. Since the bulk of your paint is on the brush at the very first stroke, I'm starting at the bottom of the tree and then just gliding our paintbrush up, because we're not going to really see the top of the tree, but we will really see the bottom of the tree. And I did this for each one of the trees. Now here's where I mucked up a little bit. I got a little bit cross-eyed, I guess is a way to say this, because I had the boards directly next to each other, and I misplaced the center in the last one. So I wasn't trying to repaint it and go over again. To adjust this, I erased the pencil line and moved over our faux wood slats. See how I'm showing you? And then came back in with some paint and just made its trunk a little bit thicker. So that trunk just has a little bit bigger of a bottom than the other trees, but it all worked out just fine. And at this point, if you're gonna make adjustments to the trunk, I would do that before you start putting on your branch tree pieces, the green spaces. For our first tree, I'm using this type of paintbrush, and we're going to go in with the dark green first, and I'm putting a healthy amount, and we're just going to do little stripes on the sides, not completely straight. We're going to kind of curve them a little bit and go just like this all the way down to the bottom of the tree. I'm not putting them right on top of one another. We do not want to actually smear our lines, and when they dry, you're welcome to go back up and add more in. So this way it looks like we are layering and just adding in the different levels that you would see when you're looking at a tree. While this was drying, I started on the second tree. I'm using this type of paintbrush for this tree, and the best way I can describe this is we're going to paint sideways birds. And we're putting a decent amount of paint on the end of this brush, and we are patting the brush, pushing it downward for the wings of our bird. And we're also going to flip the way the bird leans on our branch, or on our stem or trunk, as we go down the tree. And we're going to make these bigger as we go down as well, because we're going to add in another sideways bird, and it's going to be a different color. So we're starting with the dark one first, and I do this all the way down. As you'll see, I alternate the sideways bird. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to describe that. It looks like, if you're looking at a painting, you know how they paint little birds? That's what these look like to me. And we're just going to make these, like I said, all the way down. Once I was happy with these, I took a little bit of the black and some of the green, and then gave some of our birds an extra wing. I really just went in and created some extra pieces to give a different color variation and to hide some of the bigger gaps. When I was happy with that, I took the same brush and then used our lighter green, I think it's called celery color, and I'm going to then create more little birds. But we're gonna do it attaching the center of our bird in the center of the birds we already created, and just have their wings going a different way. So it creates little bundles of branches in different sections of our tree. I hope this makes sense. That's the best way I can think to describe it. And I did this for the entire tree. For our last tree, we're going to use a fan brush, and we're going to start out with our dark green and just tap the tip of the brush, and we're just going back and forth, starting very small at the top. And that's all we're going to do. Just tappity tap, 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 back and forth, creating straight lines with our fan brush all the way down our tree. Since I usually start trees with a darker base, I did go a little bit wider in certain sections than I should have, but I like the end result. I wish I would have stayed slightly thinner at the very top than how I'm getting a little bit wide right here. I wish I would have done that for, you know, just to give you guys a little, you know, if you're going to do this, I would recommend just staying really skinny at the top. But at the end of the day, the result was beautiful. It took a little bit longer than I would have liked for the first tree to dry, but I needed to wait for that to dry so we didn't smear these sections. And I'm coming in with that lighter green and then just going in between the gaps with the same type of stroke to give this more depth. And then we're taking that same light color and bringing our fan brush in, and we're going to go back to our last tree. And here I did not move the camera. So I'm gonna just skip it on over to the section where I noticed that there was a problem. There we go. Pay no attention to the fact that most of the tree is already painted. I love y'all. I just forgot to move it. I wasn't trying to exclude you from the painting. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Okay. Let these completely dry. I guess that's going to really depend on how thick the paint is that you're applying, but it took mine about 10 minutes. And then we're going to come in with the fan brush on this tree to add in our faux snow, or our snow. I mean, we're painting snow, so is it really faux? I don't think it is. And you can be as creative as you want on this section and add as much as you want. Just make sure you stay in between your sections. And then when you get around to your edges, if you want to leave it or add more, it is entirely up to you. For this tree, we're just going to take the fan brush and go right across just like we did with the other two colors. We're just going to do that with the white, and we're going to do that on the edges of the colors to, again, make it look like we have snow on our tree. And back to the first tree, because we had to wait for this to dry, we're going to just do the same thing here. We're going to use our original paintbrush for this, not the fan brush, and add on our snow to the ends of our tree pieces. I absolutely love how these 3 pieces turned out. Now, I didn't add the stars at the top or the words because, you know, I put my little spin on these dupes. For the most part, I think I pretty much nailed this. Let me know what you guys think. Do not forget to check out the playlist in the description box. These 3 ladies that I have teamed up with this week for Etsy dupes have videos for you, and they are not going to disappoint. Thank you so much, as always, for hanging out with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time.